Hi, Robin Shooter, joining you for my fasting update. This is day 2 of my fast, and I had my minor surgical procedure this morning, and it only took about 20 minutes. Um, Quite an interesting experience, I suppose, knowing that someone's cutting something out of your body. It's just a local anaesthetic, so I was kind of aware that the surgeon was poking and prodding around down there. Really didn't feel a thing, just a little bit of tension on my skin as he was stitching up the wound. And overall, the fast is going really well. You can probably hear in my voice that I'm a bit croaky, and I've just got this constant dry mouth feeling. So I'm sipping water throughout the day. I've gone through nearly a whole one of these today. Interestingly, when you fast, you actually don't feel as thirsty as you do ordinarily. The process of releasing fat from your fat cells, and then in particular turning that into ketone bodies, releases some water. So I'm not drinking the normal amount of water that I would. As well as one of these, I've had a bottle of just still water today as well. And all of the info on how much water to drink is actually on Dr. Clapper's fasting webinar, which again I'll put in the notes below this video. Okay, so last night I actually slept pretty well. I was worried that I mightn't sleep well, just, you know, was worried that I'd have some hunger pains, but that didn't actually happen. And my gut is just feeling really calm and really settled. No bowel movement since I started. That's kind of understandable. The gut shuts down pretty quickly when you stop shoving food in it. So, yep, slept pretty well. Woke up early in the morning. This is not uncommon. Back when I was working at Hopewood, we used to get guests complaining about this all the time, that they would just find themselves wide awake in the middle of the night, not in a distressed way, just feeling lots of energy. And that's what I've been noticing, that although I've taken rest breaks throughout the day, and especially since the surgical procedure, because I have to rest. I have to do as little movement as is humanly possible to allow the edges of the wound to knit together properly. But I don't feel sleepy. I feel kind of not at my normal energy level, and yet not tired. That's a hard thing to put into words, really. In terms of my mental concentration, it's better today than it was yesterday, and so I would imagine that I'm pretty solidly in ketosis by now, since this is day 2, and that's, for women generally are in going into ketosis by at least the end of the second day of fasting. Food. So this is an interesting thing. I've obviously, because I'm fasting at home and not in a fasting center or retreat, I'm constantly being exposed to the sight of food, to the smell of food. My daughter just made dinner. She made gnocchi with a vegetable sauce, and it looked good. I felt mildly interested in it, but it didn't really make me hungry. And so that's quite interesting. I think probably one thing that really puts people off fasting is they're afraid that they will constantly be hungry. And I know Dr. Clapper told me that when he fasted, he did a 7-day fast a couple of months ago, and he said he was really hungry, but I'm not. I'm vaguely aware of food, but it's not really attracting me at this point in time. So I don't know whether that's just because I mentally set myself to do this, or because of fasting physiology, but it's been quite comfortable in that regard. And so the other interesting thing is that my sort of wound care notes from the surgeon tell me that I may need Panadol or Panadine, and the surgeon said that too. He said after the local anaesthetic wears off, you might have some pain. Feel free to take Panadol. Well, I've got no pain at all. There's this sort of vague sensation, like I'm just aware of that that section of my thigh where the dermal neurofibroma. I'm sorry, that's the name of the tumour that I had. I knew that very well until I started fasting. Anyway, so the surgeon told me that there might be pain. There really just isn't anything at all. So I'm not sure whether he just did a really tremendous job and therefore I don't have any pain, but I doubt it. I really think it's the anti-inflammatory effect of the fast. It's the fact that my inflammation levels already, from just 2 days of fasting, have sunk down pretty low, and therefore I'm not getting a pain response. So it's been kind of interesting. Other notes. So obviously, my aim in doing this wasn't to lose weight. That wasn't really on the radar at all. But I am down. I'm down about a kilo. This is another interesting thing. From my previous fasting experience, fasting supervision experience when I was working at Hopewood, and also in watching Dr. Clapper's fasting webinar last night, he mentioned that most people get very, very rapid weight loss in the first couple of days of the fast, but that this is fluid loss. So they were retaining fluid before the fast because of having a high sodium diet. And so I think it's kind of interesting that I eat a really, really low salt diet. I don't add salt to my food. I don't use salty condiments. I buy no added salt products. I cook most of what I eat from scratch. But to the extent that I use processed products like, tinned tomatoes or tomato paste or whatever, I always choose no added salt versions. So I think that my relative lack of diuresis or rapid fluid loss and the accompanying weight loss is probably due to the fact that I don't eat a high salt diet to start with. The other thing, I've been taking my blood pressure each day. My blood pressure is usually, I suppose, what doctors would call low. It's actually perfect normal blood pressure. It usually sits around sort of 110 over 70 odd. Yesterday it was 100 over 70, and I just took it a few minutes ago. It's now sitting at, yesterday it was 100 over 80. And now sitting at 100 over 70. So I have to exercise a fair bit of caution in that if I stand up too quickly, I get a little bit woozy. So I'm taking that pretty slowly. And I'm also following the advice on Dr. Clapper's webinar to avoid using any kind of skincare products. So I went without moisturizer today. My skin feels fine. Went without deodorant. Don't think I smell. Have to ask my husband, but seem to be all right there. And I'm not even using toothpaste, so I'm just sort of using my toothbrush, and my tongue's a bit grungy. You get that with fasting. You get this sort of bottom of the parrot cage feeling on the tongue. So I've just been using the toothbrush, the tongue scraper, rough a little bit on the back of my toothbrush to get rid of the fur off my tongue. But overall, this has been, so far, pretty comfortable experience. So that is my day 2 update. Feel free to post any questions about my fasting experience in the comments below. And I will check in tomorrow for day 3. I've planned to go 3 days, and if I can last the 4th, I will, and if not, I'll just terminate the fast after the 4th day. Again, as you'll learn from watching Dr. Clapper's fasting webinar, it's very safe for healthy, unmedicated people, that's me, to fast for at least 3 days at home without supervision. And Dr. Clapper told me personally, and he mentions it on the webinar, that you can go up to 5 days if you're proceeding well and you're not getting overly dizzy or no other nasty side effects happening. So let's see. I'll try to make it to 4, may make it to 5. I'll keep you posted. All right, I'll check in again tomorrow.